Hello everyone. Today I am going to talk about a widely used term in digital image processing called image representation. These are the contents that I'll be covering today. So before moving on to our topic, let me first explain what is an image. In general terms, any two-dimensional function that bears any sort of information can be considered an image. Let us take for an example a function f of x, y where x and y are two independent variables in space and the magnitude of the function f of x, y gives us information of intensity of the image at that point. Since x and y can assume infinite number of values, we need to restrict the values so that it can be stored in a system having storage constraints. Thus, we convert the values of x, y and the magnitude of the function to be finite. Let me elaborate on what we consider to be a digital image. Digital image can be defined as a two-dimensional array of discrete picture elements called pixels. These pixels generally store the information of brightness and color. In this figure, you can see a picture represented as a grid of pixels. Now, how do we represent the information of brightness and color in a computer? The most common way is to take a pixel and represent it in terms of red, green and blue. And these three are all primary colors. Now why we actually choose these three colors is known as tri-stimulus theory. Basically, the idea is that these three colors are enough to trick our eyes into seeing every other possible color we can see. So these three colors are good enough to work with. Moving on, there are three parameters that characterizes a digital image. These are matrix size, bit depth and resolution. Coming to the first one, matrix size, as evident, it is the size of matrix given by the number of rows and columns. It has been seen that with an increase in the size of a matrix, the resolution of image also improves. Next comes the pixel or bit depth. As we know, a pixel can be represented using bits. Now, number of bits assigned to a pixel decides its color. These pixels can take up to 2 to the power k values, where k is the bit depth. For example, for a 8-bit representation, a pixel can have up to 256 shades of color. Next comes the resolution. It refers to the number of pixels per unit length of an image. We can say that our ability to see details improves with better resolution. Now coming to our topic of image representation, we can say that when we acquire data of an image, it is important to represent this data so that it can be used for further computer processing. So we can represent an image in two ways, either in a matrix form or as a function. Moving on to how we can represent an image, the simplest way to represent an image is in a matrix form. As you can see in this image, it is represented in the form of rows and columns that contains various elements. Each element represents a pixel, where each pixel can assume a value from 0 to 255 depending on the type of image. An image can be a colored image or a grayscale image. Also to keep in mind, for every color, that is red, green and blue, we will have one such matrix for each channel. The size of the matrix depends upon the resolution of the image. That means the resolution in which the sensor captures the image in determines the matrix size. Another way of representing an image is using a function. Why it is needed is because it makes it easier to perform certain operations on the image more effectively. So in this case, we can see a function going from r squared to r, where r squared corresponds to one particular coordinate location on the image, say x, y, and the range r is simply the intensity of the image at that point. Also, a digital image is a sampled and quantized version of this continuous function that we just spoke about. Now we can classify a digital image in broadly three types depending upon how it is represented in a computer. The first one is a binary image. This is the simplest type of image which uses only one bit to represent a pixel. Here black is represented using 0 and white is represented using 1. It is mostly used for outline and it is generated using a threshold operation. That means that when a pixel is above the threshold value, it is turned white, and when it is below the threshold value, it is turned black. The next type is a grayscale image. These images are monochrome images and they have only one color that represent different levels of gray. The data in a grayscale image represent intensity or brightness at that particular point. Also, each pixel can be represented by 8 bits and the intensity values are in the range of 0 to 255, where 0 corresponds to black and 255 corresponds to white. The third type of image is a colored image. It is displayed using combination of red, green and blue colors where each color is represented using a separate matrix. I've taken an example of three different color formats to represent a color image. There can be many others. The first one is 8-bit color format. It has 0 to 255 range of colors in which 0 is used for black, 255 for white and 127 for gray color. It is also known as grayscale image. The second one is 16-bit color format. It is also known as high color format. It has 65,536 different color shades, and in this format 5 bits are assigned for red, 6 bits for green and 5 bits for blue, simply because green is considered to be more soothing to the eye. The third one is 24-bit color format. It is also known as the true color format. It is distributed equally, that means that 8 bits are assigned for red, 8 bits for green and 8 bits for blue. You can see the three color palettes for the three different color formats in this picture. These are the few books and websites that I referred for this project. Okay, thank you for listening.